Hi, everybody. This is Appa Brian and Appa Baseball Classics, bringing to you our weekly Picks to Post show, NFL Week number 9. And I'm joined by Dan Mattingly, my son-in-law. And we had a pretty good week last week. We gained one on Rob's channel, going 2-1 against Rob. And you and I were 10-5. Lori, 11-4. She keeps rolling right along.
Yeah.
And let's see. Friends of the channel, DJ John was 10-5. Matt McClellan was 12-3. Justin was 10-5. Bruins fan was 10-5. So everybody had a pretty good week last week. Probably nobody expected that Monday night result.
No. That was wild, wasn't it?
Scary day for the Bengals.
Yes.
All right, let's get right into it. This week, I'm calling it Welcome Wagon Sunday. Lots of NFL players are changing addresses. We'll talk about that when we get to each game. I see we are joined by Bruins fan. Hi, Bruins fan. Thanks for joining us. And also joined by Lori, Apple Lori. All right, our first game up is the Houston Texans hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Texans are going to be wearing their all-red helmets for the first time, I believe. And Philly, of course, is the last undefeated team. Houston's 1-5-1. Any open prayer for the Texans?
I mean, you talked me into it. You bent my ear there. The Texans have a bright spot with Dameon Pierce. He's a good rookie running back. But they're really not a threat to beat a top-tier team. And the Philadelphia Eagles are a top-tier team. They're one of the 3 best teams in the league. As you said, they're one of the only unbeatens. I expect them to roll in this one. A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts really got it cooking early. The 3 touchdowns in the first half was pretty impressive. And then Sanders and the rest of the offense really kept them going throughout. Eagles defense is as good as anybody's. I don't think they're going to have any problem this week.
Got you down for Philadelphia. Lori is down for the Eagles. All the top NFC teams have one thing, or really 2 things in common. They're running the ball well, and they're playing defense. And the Eagles are leading the way. I watched the Travis Kelce New Heights show on last Wednesday. Last week, the Eagles just came back from a bye. And Jason said they needed that bye because their offensive line was banged up a bit. But they came back ready. A.J. Brown had 3 touchdowns in the first half. And another thing the Eagles do well is they're winning their turnover battles, 10 interceptions, and they recovered 11 fumbles. Okay, the Houston Texans, just before the trade deadline, tried hard to trade Brandon Cooks to the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't get it done in time. So that trade did not happen. Houston will play a lot of cover 2 zone. I think they'll be easy to pass against, maybe a little more difficult to run against when they're in zones, but Jalen Hurts should pick them apart. I'm picking the Eagles. Bruins fan has the Eagles as well. So we'll get that down and move on to the next game. That's going to be the Indianapolis Colts at the New England Patriots.
Well, the Colts made noises about making Jonathan Taylor a bell cow back again last week and just give him a lot of touches. He doesn't seem to have it this year. The offense is pretty lost. Ellinger is going to be slow to acclimate to the NFL. He's not really the shot to the arm that they were hoping for. And Indianapolis's defense isn't as strong as we expected it to be. They're my biggest disappointment for this season. I had picked them to make the playoffs. I really thought they had a pretty strong team. I was wrong. New England, not good quarterback play from Mac Jones again. He is pretty close to the bottom of the league in what he's bringing to the table from that position. But the Patriots have a strong offense. Ramondre Stevenson is a great running back. I expect them to get it done with just enough to get past the Colts here at home.
So you're down with the New England Patriots. And I see Bruno's fan was New England as well. Today, the Indianapolis Colts fired their OC, Marcus Brady. And I'm guessing it's probably because when Sam Ellinger came in, they were talking about how he was going to be a running quarterback. We ran the ball last week 6 times for 15 yards. 14 of 23 passing for 201 yards. That was a little better. But I do think they want to take advantage of his ability to run, and I don't think they like the way the OC worked that. We said last week they should give K-State a call on how to do a running quarterback type of offense. K-State does it beautifully with Colin Klein, their OC. By the way, how about that K-State game last week? 48
down.
48 to nothing over number 9 Oklahoma State. But you're looking forward to seeing them play Texas this weekend.
Yeah, I'll be in Manhattan to watch that one. Gee, that's going to be a good one.
Another problem with Indianapolis is they're only averaging 10.5 points a game on the road. New England, on the other hand, I think we're kind of lucky to beat the Jets. There was a pick 6 taken away off Mac Jones on a roughing the passer penalty.
Yeah, it was a war of bad quarterbacking between he and Zach Wilson. It was pretty impressive.
That's the thing with Mac Jones. You know, he got off to the first 2/3 of the year last year. He was the talk of the town. Yeah. He was really playing well, but the last third and the first almost half of this year, of course, he's been injured some, hadn't been very good. It's been a struggle for Mac Jones. They get a bye next week after this game, and they can prepare again for the Jets. Stevenson's the bright spot, and their defense is the bright spot. I'm picking New England to win this game, but it wouldn't shock me if the Colts were able to take it, and Lori thinks they can. All right, next game is the Green Bay Packers and Detroit Lions.
I actually kind of went back and forth on this one.
It's almost
it's almost a pick-up.
Except Detroit traded away TJ Hawkinson.
They did, to the Vikings in division. Who does that? Jeez. Didn't expect that one. That really does make the Vikings a top-tier offense. That was one piece that they really did need at tight end. I guess we'll talk about that later. But the Packers can't score and the Lions can't stop anybody. So I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. You know, it's going to be just whomever really decides to show up. Pedigree tells me to take the Packers. The Lions have really, really slipped the past few weeks. They're not playing with the pride that I would expect from a Dan Campbell team, but you know, that much losing it will weigh on players. Give me the Pack. I don't love the pick. It could go either way.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's liking Green Bay. Their game last week, Green Bay looked a lot more physical in the second half, and I think LaFleur challenged them to be more physical. They were way behind, but they came out and ran the ball down the Buffalo Bills' throat there in that third quarter.
Jones looked great.
Oh, he did. In fact, he's up to 575 yards, 4.9 average. Jair Alexander looked better last week as well. He actually covered people like we thought he would. You know, one of these days, Green Bay is going to find it. It's taking longer than we, of course, thought. And them not keeping Zadarius Smith on the defense and letting him go to the Vikings, that's been hurtful to them.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of changed the attitude of the defense. Wide receivers are still battling injuries. Cobb, Lazard, and Watson, they may play, but they're not healthy. They got to get their offensive line back. They got to get their defensive line back. And then This game is in Detroit, and Detroit has a history of playing Green Bay tight, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop Green Bay's running game. DeAndre Smith, their best running back, came back, but he was only 5 for 6 rushing, so he was hardly used. And they traded away Hopkinson. That's the kind of thing that could just break a team's back. And like you said, they've not played with the fire that they had last year. And this losing Hopkinson might be,
Yeah, it's a losing move. It's a losing trade. You're trading one of your only productive pieces.
They might just pack it in after that.
Yeah.
Next game is the Los Angeles Chargers at the Atlanta Falcons.
I think this might be a little closer than folks are probably giving it credit for. I think the Falcons have a better coaching staff. I think they have some fun pieces. If they ever decide to throw the ball to their eminently talented tight end Kyle Pitts, I'd be surprised, but it would probably help them a lot. Marcus Mariota's had a steady, solid year. The defense for Atlanta is athletic. They move. They're quick to the ball. But Austin Eckler is on a tear. And I know that after a bye, they're probably going to start to have Herbert throw a little bit further down the field. They're going to have a little bit more health in their receiving core. I want to take the Falcons, but man, I think the Chargers are going to have a good week this week.
Have you heard about Keenan Allen, whether he'll be back at all?
So they're saying that there's a good chance he'll be back. But of course, they're not going to really confirm it until later this week. He did not practice today.
All right. They are kind of throwing the ball a little bit more to Pitts. He's number 2 in receiving behind Drake London. Drake London's been a good rookie for them. Let's see. Maybe Pitts has, off the top of my head, I think he's got 21 catches now. That's less than 3 a game, or about 3 a game. That's not great. Bird had a big day last week. 47-yard go-ahead touchdown catch from Marcus Mariota. And the other thing about the Atlanta Falcons, that their secondary is horrible. They should have lost to, was it Carolina they were playing last week?
Oh, yeah.
And DJ Moore making that 67-yard catch, but then ripping his helmet off. That just was a gift. Field goal kicker misses the extra point. They go over overtime, which Atlanta wins. But to help that secondary, Atlanta has, to quote unquote help that secondary, Atlanta has traded for Rashad Fenton of the Chiefs. They're giving Kansas City a conditional 7th round pick. I think we're winning on this trade.
If he's under a dozen pass interference calls by the end of the year, do we get the 7th round pick? Is that how it works?
He probably would have more PIs than tackles.
Yeah.
Does not like the tackle. And I think you can win sometimes by subtraction. Your teammates who are other cornerbacks who are in safeties, who are left making all the tackles, that can't sit well with them. And I was thinking, I'll be surprised if Fenton lasts past the trade deadline. He was injured the last game, and then they had the bye. But no, after that last game he played, I don't think they're going to let it. I was thinking they were not going to let him back on the field. Again, because of the secondary of Atlanta, Fenton's not going to make a difference. Hebert was going to have a field day.
Yeah.
It's going to be Chargers. Okay, next game is the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets.
Well, Jets are home. That's probably their only advantage in this game. Zach Wilson, I mean, just watching some of his play, he's not there. He clearly, we talked about he didn't have that many reps as a quarterback at BYU. That was overshadowed by the fact that Trey Lance had almost none. So, I mean, Wilson is inexperienced. He doesn't trust the pocket. He's throwing into coverage. And sometimes he can't even manage to throw the ball out of bounds correctly. The Jets' defense is fairly formidable. They can hold teams under 30 points, but maybe not the Bills. The Bills look tough. They're adding pieces. They got Najee Hines from the Colts, who's a pretty good pass-catching running back and a little bit tougher runner than their current second back, Moss. So that may help them going forward. And that Buffalo defense, they do not give up many points to subpar quarterbacks. They're a very good unit over there. Ed Oliver having a great year. He's playing fantastic.
Yeah, Jordan Phillips came back last week, and he made his presence known. He's a big guy there in the middle, a really good run stuffer, and he can rush the passer a little bit. Buffalo has a home game next week with Minnesota, but this is a division game, so I don't think this will be a trap game. Diggs has 55 catches, 764 yards, which is quite a bit more than Gabriel Davis. Davis has only 16 catches.
Yeah, he only plays well against the Chiefs.
I guess.
That's his thing. Yeah.
He had about that many in the playoffs last year against the Chiefs. He did a season's worth of work in that one game.
Yes.
It's a little frightening how they gave up chunk runs to Green Bay in the second half. And you already mentioned they did trade for Naheem Hines. I said a few weeks ago that the Jets have a really tough schedule coming up, and with the loss of Vera Tucker, number 75, and Breece Hall, the running back, the honeymoon is over. It's going to get tough because, like you said, there's a lot more pressure now on Zach Wilson, and he's not measuring up. Interceptions, missed throws. They've had to go too pass happy, and you can't make Zach Wilson throw the ball 40 times a game and expect that bad things aren't going to happen. They traded away Jacob Martin, defensive end, to Denver for a 2024 fourth round and fifth round picks. But James Robinson got in on the field. Was that his first week with them, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't great. He and Carter were averaging about 3.5 yards a carry. They're going to have to do better to take pressure off Zach Wilson. And I don't think they're going to be able to do better against Buffalo's run defense. I'm picking Buffalo. Next game is the Minnesota Vikings. And the Washington Commanders are coming out with their alternate helmet, which I may have to remake. I didn't do a very good job on this one, but it looks somewhat like that, the W on the front and numbers on the side.
Well, they can roll out whatever they want to wear in Washington. I don't think they're going to beat the Vikings. Vikings are on a little bit of a tear. They're really a very good, well put together team. They're adding TJ Hawkinson to a very dangerous offensive group with Jefferson, Thielen, Cook. Hawkinson in that mix just gives Cousins one more place to go with the ball. And yeah, I know he's not exactly Mr. Bright Lights, but he can get it done at a pretty good level. Heineke is playing great in the best football he can be expected to play. McLaurin is emerging as one of the best receivers in the league, in my opinion. But they're not going to have enough for the Vikings.
Okay, we're joined by DJ John, and he's picking the Vikings. DJ, if you could put your picks in the comments afterwards, I appreciate it. And let's see, Lori has the Vikings. You have the Vikings. And Bruins fan also has Minnesota. This is a Kirk Cousins revenge game.
Yes.
He would like to play well in Washington, I'm sure. 66% on the year, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. they play Buffalo and Dallas the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So Minnesota's going to be looking for Barry. They want to be sure they win this game. And I get the feeling that Dalvin Cook the last couple of weeks is just not getting warmed up. He's at 561 yards with 4.9 yards rushing. I think he's kind of going to be on the uptick. Overall, when I look at the Vikings and you look at their numbers and their individual performances, they've had a lot of close games.
Yeah.
I think their 6-1 record is not indicative of how they played. So they're not satisfied, and they did trade for T.J. Hawkinson from Detroit. They're giving up 2 fourth-round picks and 1 second pick for 2 years from now. Irv Smith, their tight end, got injured, so they had to do something.
Yeah.
And the something they did is, I think, pretty effective. Washington, Heineke and McLaren is one of the best combinations in the league. And Heineke, he's given them their best shot. I think the biggest difference between Heineke and Wentz is Wentz has been sacked 23 times and Heineke only 3 times.
You know what it is? You know what I've noticed with Wentz when I watched him? When he feels pressure, what he does, instead of chopping his feet, getting out of danger, he sets his feet and rips it every time. He never looks to scramble.
Yeah.
Heineke does.
Heineke can get away.
Yeah.
Still, Washington's only running for 3.5 yards per carry and need a better running game to help Mr. Heineke. Although, if they rely on Heineke, he's pretty good. He's better than relying on Vance Wilson. All right, so we've all got Washington. The next game is the Carolina Panthers at the scary Cincinnati Bengals.
Man, that Browns game, that was like Cincinnati might have got exposed in that game.
They showed up, and Myles Garrett had the best costume. He had like a creature from the Black Lagoon type of costume.
Yeah.
Looked great. And here comes Joe Burrow with a sport coat on and a boo written on his T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah. That didn't work.
No, it did not. Well, we're finding out what Jamar Chase meant to the team early and often. The Bengals are going to have to figure out what to do without him to eat up so much of the field and so many DBs in coverage. They're really able to focus on Higgins and Boyd now and take away a lot of throws that were easy, especially to Tyler Boyd. He was having himself a heck of a year before Chase went down. The blocking isn't there. They're letting up a lot of sacks. PJ Walker is looking pretty good for the Panthers. If they hadn't had the penalty at the end of the last game, they really should have won that game.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in my mind if Moore hadn't have ripped his helmet off there at the end, they would have won that game. It's kind of a weird game. And Carolina has a pretty good run game. Give me the Bengals at home. They're going to want to bounce back. Their coach is going to be ready. I would take the Panthers in another world, though. I really would.
Well, DJ Moore, he just blew it. He's a veteran. He should know better than take his helmet off at the end of the game. And then that was after, I think he had a big drop or something before that. Yeah. Walker is playing well, and Baker Mayfield now, by the way, is back to 100%, but he is officially the number 2 guy. PJ Walker's the number 1.
We were in that job.
Yeah, 63%, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Deontay Foreman's averaging 5.2 yards per carry. Hubbard's better at 6.5, but I think Hubbard was injured last week, and I think he's still questionable for this week. Problem with Carolina, they're still 21st in the league on defense. No, in the Cincinnati, and it's not good news here. Burrows has been put down 30 times. That's just I mean, it's like he's getting assaulted. It's almost like watching Michigan State assault Michigan in the tunnel, which is ugly. And I do think charges should be filed in that situation. Miles Garrett is completely healthy now, and he showed up and put on a show. Cincinnati is, we say it every week that Mixon's got to do a better job, but they're just not blocking for him. And so he's still running for only about 3.5 yards per carry. And I think they've tried to run the ball about least as anybody in the league. So it's been all on Burrow's shoulder and the offensive line to pass block, and they're not getting any better from week to week. Somehow I'm still picking Cincinnati. one more week.
We're going to regret this one, I think.
Oh, man.
Oh, good job, Lori. Lori took the Panthers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll get that down. Next game is the Las Vegas Raiders. And I guess I jinxed Carr talking about him.
Jeez, didn't
at Jacksonville.
This is like a war of two really dumb teams that have a ton of talent. I just don't. You can't pick this game with any real certainty. Even 5 minutes before game time, I don't think you can. Jacksonville's a mess. I think that Trevor Lawrence is really struggling. He's not hitting passes. That great class that we were promised last year that was supposed to be just full of quarterback candidates has looked like they might not have any that are going to stick in the NFL. Jacksonville's defense has been decent, but nothing special. The Raiders were completely lost last week. They put up a donut. They completely just looked like they had no idea what was going on. They had two catches to Devontae Adams for the whole game. I don't see how the Raiders could not have a bounce back game in this game. Just give me Las Vegas. I don't really trust the Jaguars, but man, I don't have a lot of reason to trust the Raiders either.
Okay, you and Lori are on a good wavelength. She also has the Raiders. So Carr did get benched during the game last week. They brought in Jarrett Stidham, a fourth-round pick from Auburn. He was 8 for 13 for just 72 yards. I'm pretty sure Carr will be starting.
Yeah.
But he's going to struggle again, I think, against this energetic Jaguars defense. They're young. They fly to the ball. They rush the passer. So I think it's going to be another struggle week for Carr. And Matt Collins, he's fighting off a bad heel. Waller still has not totally healed from that hamstring, and looks like it's something that's just going to carry on and on. And Devontae Adams has struggled not having Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
So I think things are going south for the Vegas Raiders. They were looking good for a couple of weeks. I thought, man, they're on their way.
Yeah.
And then they get shut out in New Orleans. Are you kidding me?
That was wild. I did not see that coming.
So this is going to be the NTN versus Josh Jacobs game.
Good running back matchup.
Yeah, I think I'm going to bet on ETN. Jacksonville traded for Calvin Ridley. Got suspended for gambling for the year, so he can't help till next year.
Good receiver. Good player, though.
Good receiver, but maybe not the brightest light if he's suspended for gambling in a professional sports team. So, yeah, I'm going to be picking Jacksonville. Let's see. Bruins fans got the Raiders. And DJ John's got the Raiders too. We'll probably have to send the Raiders to Rob's channel.
Don't look so sad, Brian.
Okay. Next game is the Miami Dolphins at the Chicago Bears.
Okay, so the Bears continue to confuse the NFL world as a whole. They have decided to trade away their best defensive player, Roquan Smith, to the Baltimore Ravens.
I'll
And
follow
then
trade away Robert Quinn too.
and Robert Quinn, that's true. And their second best defensive player. I don't think he was trying that hard this year. He's usually a much better player. So they've cratered their defense and then traded for Chase Claypool from the Steelers to bolster the offense. That's very confusing, but maybe they just want to get a weapon for Justin Fields. Maybe should have thought of that before the season. Would have been good, I think. He's an exciting player, but they're not going to have much chance against the Dolphins. Miami's starting to click. Tua's looking comfortable. I expect them to roll in this one. Their DBs should very handily handle anything that the Bears are going to throw at them.
Tua is beginning to look like a Super Bowl type quarterback. If he can make it through the whole year, I'm about ready to put them up in the conversation based on the trades they made today with Kansas City and Buffalo.
Yeah.
Cincinnati somehow wormed their way up there, but they're not there now.
No.
Everyone probably knows they got Bradley Chubb, the defensive edge rusher from Denver. They gave away their 2023 number one pick for that. And they're also getting Jeff Wilson Jr., running back from San Francisco, and he'll be a compliment to Mostart, who's been getting better. 452 yards for Mostart, 4.5 yards per carry. Waddle and Hill are just uncoverable. 69 catches already for Hill, 971 yards already. Can almost see him maybe getting a 2,000-yard season.
He could, very easily.
Waddle is at 42 catches with 727. So the Bears' young secondary, they're not horrible, but they're going to be challenged this week. Bears are showing signs of being able to use Justin Fields correctly. And getting Claypool may or may not help. I'm not a big fan of him. I watched him in Notre Dame. I watched him in Pittsburgh, where his coach kind of had the sit on him from time to time. I'm not sure he's a great locker room guy. He is opinionated, for sure. But there it is. I'm picking Miami, and I think we're all down on Miami. Yeah, DJ John also says Miami. Next pick is Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals.
So somehow Arizona's favored in this game, I think. Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins is going to have big weeks just about every week. He's impossible to shut down, big-bodied receiver. Kyler's really happy.
It's going to be an interesting matchup. That Tariq Woolen, that rookie for Seattle, he's got 4 INTs, and he's pretty fast. We'll see if he can handle DeAndre.
Yeah, no, it'll be a good matchup. That's a good point. I tend to lean toward the vet. But man, Seattle's coming on strong. They're getting great play from all sides of the ball. Tyler Lockett had a big game last week. And the players just seem to be having a great time. Give me Seattle. I think they're just riding a little too high for a Cardinals team that's got a lot of internal issues.
Got you down for Seattle. Bruins fan likes Arizona. Lori likes Seattle. And Apple Brian likes Seattle.
Hey.
I think Pete Carroll should be in line for NFL Coach of the Year. The way his 6 rookies have come along during the season, and the way he's using, for sure, beginning with Penny, but now Kenny Walker, taking a lot off the shoulders of Geno Smith. Geno Smith is shining. So Walker is 461 yards, 5.4 yards a carry. I lock at Seattle a lot. James Conner comes back for Arizona. They've got 3 straight division games. They got the Seattle, they got the Rams, and then they got the 49ers. So if Arizona's going to make hay this season, these 3 weeks are where they have to do it. And I'm sure they're probably gearing toward that. But they're 30th on defense. Hurting a little bit on the offensive line. They're down to their 3rd string centers. Garcia and Hudson are out. So I'm picking Seattle. I think Seattle is going to do it. And let's see, DJ John's got the Seahawks as well. Next game is the Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, this is kind of the this is one I had a lot of trouble with. I'm sure everybody did. Tampa Bay kind of just isn't clicking. Things are not really working out the way that they'd hoped. They cannot run the ball. The defense is looking a little older and slower, but so are the Rams. They're not looking great out there. They haven't been able to figure out how they can keep Matt Stafford upright. And, I mean, their only offense is throwing Cooper Kupp the ball. Makes it a little rough. You know, I'm going back and forth on this one. Give me Tampa. I just don't know how they're gonna lose again this week, especially to a Rams unit that's pretty banged up.
Yep. Cooper Kupp says he dodged a bullet when he hurt his ankle last week, so I think they're expecting him to play. They were not able to unload Cam Akers, so I think they're bringing him back. I think he'll play again.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, well,
that guy's a cancer. They gotta get him out of there.
Yeah, Ron Rivers. I mean, that didn't work out too great. No. So I think it's going to be Akers back there, who's hardly trying. Tom Brady got his divorce papers. He says that it's an amicable divorce, and so he doesn't have to think about it too much. He can concentrate on football and all that good stuff. This team is, this game is one to probably not put on the calendar.
Yeah, I don't think I'll spend too much time watching this one.
Let's see. Bruins fans got Tampa. Lori's got the Bucks. J. John, we already put out there, is with the Rams. I'm picking Tom Brady. You know, he's still throwing the ball pretty well. There's just no offensive line for the Rams. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing they can do.
No run blocking, no pass blocking. It's going to be a long year for Matthew Stafford. All right, that brings us up to the Sunday night game. The Tennessee Titans at the Chiefs.
Well, Malik Willis was bad. It looks like Tannehill will probably be back, but he's going to have a hurt foot, and that really hurts him because he's a mobile quarterback. He's a guy that likes to roll out and get in space. If it was Willis, I mean, that was not the debut that you would want out of a first-round rookie. So, you know, that's a tough one. But what you have to admit is Derrick Henry looked like the old Derrick Henry last week. Ran for over 200 yards. That puts him at 6, tied for the most all-time with Adrian Peterson and Walter Payton, correct? And, that's going to be the Chiefs' challenge. The running backs should be up for it. I think it's a good squad over there. They should be able to get him on the ground, and that's really all Tennessee's going to have on offense. I believe the Chiefs should be able to outscore the Titans, and it should be a pretty good game for the Chiefs.
I think it'll be fun to watch the center for Tennessee, Ben Jones, try to take on Chris Jones. But that Jones on Jones matchup should be something to watch. Tannehill has high hopes.
Yes, I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he does. If he can't go, I don't think they throw the ball more than 15 times. I think Tannehill will play.
Yeah.
But if it's Malik Willis, they're not going to throw the ball very much. Derrick Henry's up to 755 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. He's just been improving with every week. The Chiefs have lost to him a couple of times in the regular season, but they beat him when it counted in the AFC Championship game a few years ago. And they really had a good game plan against him. And I think Spagnuolo can focus on stopping him and not worry that much against, Tennessee's receivers. Who's there to scare you with the receiving game?
Nobody.
Yeah, really nobody. Kansas City made a couple of signings this week. They signed Kadarius Toney from the New York Giants. I'm guessing that he's going to return punts, as they probably don't want to see Sky Moore fumble on the 5-yard for a third time. I don't think Sky Moore is going to get any more opportunities in that part of the game, which is fine, because as a rookie, I just soon see him concentrate on his regular pass catching game. And I'd like to see him get more involved with that. So that's Kadarius Toney. I don't know why they traded for Daz Newsome from Chicago. He's on the practice squad. But there you go. What I was hoping they would do is find a defensive end or a defensive tackle. Ndamukong Suh is still out there, and he said that he's still willing to play. I don't know why they didn't go after Ndamukong Suh. Anyway, they're working in Pacheco more. He's now the number 2 ball carrier, and he's averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Actually got the start last week. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the start again this week. If everybody's averaging over 4 yards per carry, the offensive line can run block. And McKinnon and Pacheco and CH kind of know what Clyde Edwards-Helaire knows what to do running the ball. I just don't like Hilaire's style so much. And I don't know if they're going to throw the ball in too much more. They've had a couple of mishaps trying to throw him the ball. They know they can throw the ball to McKinnon, and they know they can throw. I think they're going to try to throw the ball. Well, they have tried with Pacheco. He's done okay. Yeah. So I like Kansas City in this game, but I think it will be a fairly tight game. All their home games this year have been pretty tight. Both their blowouts have been on the road. So it could be nail-biting time again. Monday night is the Baltimore Ravens and I would say the mysterious New Orleans Saints.
What a weird team. Who knows which team is going to show up for New Orleans? Alvin Kamara, man, he's had 2 gems this season where he has just taken over games and almost won the games on offense for the Saints by himself. He's a phenomenal player. Doesn't have it week to week like he used to, seems like, but man, they really took it to the Raiders. Complete game. Defense looked amazing. I think they've got a grown-up at quarterback right now that they're going to stick with regardless of anybody else's health. And they're at home. It's hard to pick against the Saints. They may be going on a roll. But that's the other thing about New Orleans. They don't put it together multiple weeks in a row. They're a weird team. The Ravens, I have another problem with them. They play 3 quarters of football every week and then let whatever might happen in the fourth quarter happen. And that's really not a good way to win either. I think the Ravens are better. I think that they're running the ball extremely well right now. Adding Smith to the defense is really filling a hole that they've been missing this year. Reliable tackling in the middle of the field. Give me the Ravens, and let me watch Kamara score 6 touchdowns.
Oh no. Bateman, Andrews, and Edwards are battling injuries for Baltimore. I think Edwards will be playing, and I think Bateman. I'm not sure about Andrews. Adding Raekwon Smith to Patrick Queen makes a pretty good linebacking core over there for Baltimore. You just from week to week, you just don't know who's going to have a spectacular game for New Orleans. Maybe it's Taysom Hill's turn this week.
Right.
Maybe Andy.
Well, he already had one.
Well, he's had a couple.
Yeah.
And Kamara. I just don't think there's enough for New Orleans to stand up to Baltimore. Baltimore is 5-3. They're on a mission. New Orleans 3-5. I actually have this game as a pick'em game. Baltimore's been winning by an average of 3 points a game, and New Orleans is break even. So it would be a pick'em game at New Orleans. I'm picking Baltimore. Lori says Ravens, and Bruins says Ravens in a tight one. I agree. I think it could be a really good Monday night game. And by the way, the NFL has not had a lot of great Monday night and Sunday night games this year. It's been kind of thin. Lori likes the Ravens. And also DJ John likes Baltimore as well. Let's go through and combine these picks for Rob's channel. Philadelphia, we got everybody's on Philadelphia. Most of us are on New England, so we'll put down New England. Green Bay, Detroit, everybody's on Green Bay. On the LA Atlanta game, I am surprised, but everybody is on the Chargers. I actually think that I picked the Chargers, but I actually think Arthur Smith's a better coach than Staley.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
It could definitely go. That one could go against us. I think I'm less confident in that than most of them.
Everybody's got Buffalo, Washington, and Minnesota. Everybody has Minnesota. Most of us have Cincinnati. Most of us, except for Apple Brian, has Jacksonville. So I'm going to bite the bullet and put down the Raiders.
I'm glad you're smiling about it. That's good.
They might be a team that's giving up. Everybody likes Miami. Most of us like Seattle, Tampa Bay, KC, and Baltimore. One more thing. I don't know if you ever watched the Pat McAfee show on YouTube. He got a message from the NFL yesterday from an NFL lawyer saying he can't use NFL trademarks anymore on YouTube.
Really?
So well, he's making some money on it. He's got like 2 million or so subscribers.
Yeah, followers, yeah.
So he's calling. So now he's calling on the next show. He called the NFL the Professional American Football League. Removed all the logos. It was the Kansas City football team, the Baltimore football team. They all got confused when they came to New York.
Oh yeah, yeah. The three.
Nobody there was happy about it, and he said when the off season comes and he has no plans for making, using the NFL logos and stuff, he'll have more time to think about other things to talk about, like the NFL and CTE and things like that.
It's a good point. Yes, you do some real research there.
So I'm not looking for being contacted by the NFL. I'm not on the landscape. I have about 2 subscribers compared to 2 million subscribers, but it is kind of getting ridiculous.
Yeah. I think they've got enough money as it is. They're doing okay. They can let a couple people talk about them on YouTube. It's all right.
All right, Lori and DJ John and Bruins fan, thank you so much for joining and chipping in for us. I need somebody to help me. By the way, if you didn't join us at the top of the hour, Matt McClellan's not with us, but he was 12-3. Got 10-5 for Bruins fan. DJ, you were 10-5. Lori was 11-4. Watch out for Lori week in and week out.
Yes. She's got us beat.
All right, I'm going to go over to Rob's channel. He started early because he's a big Philadelphia Phillies fan, and he wants to watch the World Series at 7:05. Dan, thank you very much. We
Yeah,
love you.
fun as
Great
always.
week.
You too, bud. We'll talk to you
All right,
soon.
everybody. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye.